Alright, today I want to take a look at this Neca Dungeons & Dragons 50th anniversary figure. This is Zarak, that evil half-orc assassin. This is the new kind of trimmed down version of him that's not the same as the previous released deluxe versions or ultimate versions that came with more accessories. This one's about $10 cheaper, comes with a little fewer accessories and a little bit simpler paint apps. Let's crack this open and take a look. Alright, and here we have Zarak out of the packaging. This is the newer 50th anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons edition that comes carded on a pretty thick cardstock. This is not the same as the ultimate action figure version that came out about a year ago, that came in a nice display box with a good assortment of accessories. This version here just comes with a little bit simpler paint applications, not as much weathering, there's no wash. And comes with just these two accessories, the two double-edged daggers he has in his hands there. As you can see, he has sheaths for both of those. There's some nice detailing around him. The paint applications that are there are very nice, very sharp, pretty much painted where we need to paint. There's not a lot of bleed over into other areas that shouldn't be painted that color, etc. A lot of nice sculpting and details, those pouches on his back, the two scabbards that he has there for the daggers, and that pouch on the front. Alright, that's about as vanilla of a standing pose we could get this little evil half-orc assassin in. Maybe he's hanging out the edge of an inn in the shadows, listening for some intel. Who knows what he's doing, but he's just lurking around. Articulation does allow us to get a good upright posture here. That's about as far as his arms can come into his sides. Right here we can see a little bit more of a dynamic pose, squaring off to fight some good guys, or maybe some other bad guys, or maybe just for fun. Who knows what he's doing. But we can get enough articulation there to kind of get him into some more dynamic poses. Alright, let's pop him off of the stand here. Get a little look at what we can get with this articulation. You can see the dagger here pretty easily fits in and out of the hand. If anything, these may be a little undersized for him. As we can see, they a little bit small of a handle for this figure. Going in and out of the scabbard, I don't know if you can pick that up. A little bit of yellow right on the edge of this dagger here, just from going in and out of that sheath here. So the daggers do come in and out of his hands pretty easily. They go into the scabbards a little tight. I think that's why the paint got a little marked up. As far as his head goes, he does just have this one pose with his eyes kind of looking up there. We can look down about that far. Can look up about that far. He has a little bit of side-to-side motion in his head. Turning, no problem. We can go all the way around here. So pretty good in the head. Not crazy, but pretty good considering this big piece around his neck, which does move around pretty freely around him when I'm trying to pose. He has a little bit, you can feel in the waist, a little bit of rock in there. Whether it'll stay to one side or not is, kind of the problem here. That rubberized, tunic he's wearing here doesn't really allow him to stay in some of these crunched positions. I can pull him pretty far, and then he kind of starts going back. We have the same problem when kind of trying to look back or scrunch over. Stays, but not a huge range there. These are kind of Neca figures, if you're familiar with them. I don't know that they're really known for a ton of articulation, at least in this line. My experience is not very high levels of articulation, but very high levels of detail in the sculpt. Really good applications in the paint, typically. Now with the legs, we do get a pretty good split there. They will stay. We get a decent kick out to the front. Decent kick out to the back. A little bit limited with this rubberized clothing, but it does move out of the way. We have a cut up here at the thigh for a swivel in the leg. We do have a single point of articulation at the knee, but it doesn't move a whole lot. And you can kind of see that, not a huge difference. We do have a little bit of rock in the ankle, not a ton. A little bit of up and down. Actually, a pretty good bit of down there, not as much up. In the arms, we can get a little better than a T-pose. Round about a T-pose there. We do have double jointed elbows and swivels at the gauntlet and at the bicep there. So we can get him in a little bit better than 90 degrees. We have hinged wrists, so we can get decent bend down, a little bit of a bend up. Swivels, no problem. Pretty decent articulation. Enough to do some good static poses, a little bit of dynamic poses, maybe enough to set up a battle scene or two. Alright, let's pop him up here with a couple other figures for scale. Alright, there we have Zarak. Let's drop in right next to him Warduke from the same Neca D&D 50th Anniversary line. I think they scale real nicely together for the species or races they're supposed to be. For comparison here, we have a Savage Crucible, Ko-Mo of the Isles. Scale there. I think probably scaling right for a half-orc assassin. Let's try a couple other mythic legions here for scale. I'm planning on putting a little wash on Zarak and probably mixing him in with some of my mythic legions if I can kind of get them to look about right. Here we have one of the ogre scale and a standard scale there. I think he fits in nicely with those. Alright, let's look at a standard 6-inch figure here. Star Wars Black Series, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Not that there's a real direct comparison there, but it's always good to see against a 6-inch. Speaking of not direct comparisons there, we have a Toy Biz Magneto and a 1/18 scale figure in an Acid Rain. Alright. Also just for fun, because it's almost my favorite line, good old Exo Squad E-frame and one of the figs from the series. Looking good, boys, looking good. Probably the most relevant would be that Mythic Legion standard size figure and the other NECA Warduke figure. I think those scale really well together. I think they look good on the shelf together. That's where he's going to go. Alright guys, thanks again. Bye.